amazing that we're having this Farbrengen. On Shabbos, one of the people here in the shul said that it's exactly a year from the Zoom Farbrengen. So this is over Kayit, v'chulu v'chulu, and it's a full year of Chassidim Farbrengen all over the world together. And then it could have for sure the whole year from Chavches Nisan last year till today was no question a moment of getting together and trying to figure out what does the Rebbe want from us. One of the people by the Farbrengen yesterday on Shabbos, he asked, "Ma yemi yamayim? What are we Farbrengen today?" He's a Chassid, but a very straightforward. He says the Rebbe said that we have to do everything we can. This has to go on every single day. Why all of a sudden this Shabbos you woke up, and now you have to do something special to bring Mashiach? This has to happen every single day, every single moment. So told me 100% right. First of all, you're right. Second of all, there are special moments when we have a special Nesinas Kayach. And no question that when the Rebbe spoke the Sikh of Chavches Nisan, the Rebbe said there's a Kayach of Nisan, which the idea is a powerful moment and we get special powers. And if that is every year Chavches Nisan, when it comes to Shleishim Shana ben Shleishim LeKayach, no question, now we have a double amount of Kayach. So the Rebbe is giving us incredible amount of strength and understanding and power. As much as we all understand that this has to be done from us, Chas v'shalom, nobody should think that this was a moment when the Rebbe, let go and he said, do whatever you can. The Rebbe's words are, first of all, of course, a bracha and a heroah, but for us, it's an esinas kech. The Rebbe is telling us you can do it and you will do it and you will manage to do it. I remember I once heard a story of a shliach. In the first years of his shlichut, he was very, very successful. And one day he was called in by Rabbi Chadakov, and Rabbi Chadakov told him that, Baruch Hashem, we see the success that you have, and we want to suggest and offer you a new territory, a new part of, was actually a very, very important position, that besides the zachrayis that he had in his place, he should get a whole new territory where he should be able to continue shlichus. So he told Rabbi Chadakov, listen, I know my strength, I know how much time I have, I know how much I have on my plate already, and as much as you tell me that I'm Baruch Hashem being successful, but I just can't handle it, I can't do so much. So I must say no to this offer. So Rabbi Chadakov looked at him in his eyes and he says, in other words, you're saying that the tzlacha that you had till now was because of your strength, because it was your doing? He realized what he just said, and he said, sorry, I take everything back. I realize that it's the Rebbe's keiches, and I'm ready to take this new job. I'm ready to take this new territory that should be under my achrayas. Rabbi Chadakov told him it's too late. You missed the opportunity. A person that could for a moment think that what he's doing is his own doing and it's not the Rebbe's keiches, he doesn't deserve to have more to do. So Be'etzim, the Rebbe is telling each one of us, I'm giving you special keiches. Shleishim shana ben shleishim lekeiach, I'm giving you even more keiches. Now's the moment that the Rebbe is giving us something which we never had before. As much as we had all the 30 years, but every year it's Eir Chadash that comes down. If every Rosh Hashanah we believe, as the Rebbe says in Tanya, that it's Tchilas Rosh Hashanah, it's a beginning of new keiches. This year, Chavches Nisan, we got incredible more keiches than we ever had before. So we can do it and we will do it. And if the Rebbe believed in us, we can surely do it. We have the keiches, we have the opportunity, we have the kelim, we have everything ready to be able to succeed. Since it's early morning here, not so early already, but I'll start with a Milsa de B'dichusa. There was once anti-Semite that worked into a restaurant, I think it was in Paris. And he walked into a restaurant and it was his birthday. And he said, that's it, today I'm partying, today I'm relaxing, today I want to have fun. He saw a restaurant, he walked in, he sits down, And while he's calling over the waiter, all of a sudden he sees a frum Jew sitting in this restaurant. And again, he says, I hate these Jews. I just can't stand them. I come here to celebrate my birthday, and again, they're in front of my eyes with the beards and the hats. I just can't anymore. So he goes over to the waiter and he says, can I just make an announcement? He says, Gesundheit, the floor is yours. He stands up and he says, dear friends, today is my birthday, and I'm ready to have all of you, my guests. You can eat whatever you want, all on my bill. I'm going to pay for it, besides this one Jew sitting there at that table. Everybody, a free meal besides him. Everybody's excited. They stand up, they clap their hands. That's all excited. Wow. You know, they came to the restaurant the right day. They're all so excited. And this Jew stands up and he starts clapping also. He doesn't get it. He said, probably that's not enough. You know what? Dear friends, not only your food, your drinks, you can order whatever drink you want. The best wines, the best whiskeys. Just order. It's my birthday. Celebrate with me. Besides this one stinking Jew sitting at that table. And again, everybody starts clapping. They come over to him. They say, thank you, thank you. And this Jew also comes over to him and says, I can't say how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You know, this guy realizes that it didn't work. He says, you know what, you guys, if you have friends, family, you can take out food with you. Take it home. All on my bill. Besides this one stinking Jew. And this Jew comes over to him and says, he hugs him and he tells him, I can't thank you more. You can't. So the guy goes over to him and says, listen, you're crazy and nuts. So he said, listen, I'm the owner of the restaurant. So the bottom line, the Rebbe is telling us, not only du kannst einnehmen die Welt, not only you can take over the world, you are the one that's going to make it happen. When in history did such a moment ever happen? That the Rebbe gives his Chassidim, every Jew, the power to understand that we are going to make it. In 3,300 years or 5,700 years, there was never such a thing. In history, there was never such a thing. A moment that the Nasi Ador told the people, you are the one that are going to make Mashiach happen. Why Dafka in our generation? It's very simple. I'm sure it was said many times during this Farbrengen, because the whole idea of Mashiach is milmata lemaila. The whole point of Mashiach is not Mashiach. I'm sure we all understand that he wants to come. What's the question? But Mashiach cannot come until we prepare the world. The Dira B'Tachtenim has to be prepared by us. The Dira B'Tachtenim has to be done by the Tachtenim. So if we're not the ones doing it, Mashiach can't come. As much as he wants to come, he cannot come as long as we don't prepare it, because the whole idea of Mashiach is that the world is prepared. We just saw this interaction by dollars, right? The Rebbe tells the people, you have to be ready, because that's the whole idea of Mashiach. How much clearer can the Rebbe say to us that it depends on us, it's up to us, but I'm giving you the keiches to do it. So the Rebbe says, whatever had to be done, milmayla lemata, whatever to be done by the Nasi Ador, starting from Moshe Rabbeinu, Baal Shem Tov, v'chulu, until the Rebbe. We have a Yid here in our community. He's a Baruch Hashem, I would say close to a billionaire. He's a Chassid. He's mamish into learning and everything. He has two people that he loves. He says the first Rebbe, and that's the Alter Rebbe. He pushed the Kovzach in the Alter Rebbe's Teres, and the last Rebbe. He says, you know, every Rebbe has a name, right? There's the Frierdiker Rebbe, there's the Rebbe Rashab, there's the Alter Rebbe. He says the first Rebbe and the last Rebbe. That's it. We have the last Rebbe telling us that this is the last moments and you are the ones that are going to do it. What could be more empowering than that? So there's no question that this is a special moment for all of us. So the question is, what do we do? That's the question that each one of us has been asking for the last 30 years. Count 30 years, time 355, let's say, or 65. It comes out to 10,000 days, or even more. It's a lot of days. Bekitzer. A lot of days and a lot of hours and a lot of moments that each shliach is asking himself, and each chassid is asking himself, and every Jew are asking themselves, what are we supposed to do? So it's very hard to answer this question, and I'm sure that each chassid is asking this question, and everybody's trying to figure out what is the answer. But first of all, we have to look at the Rebbe's Sikha. And the Rebbe says, and I just heard before Rabbi Cohen, who mentioned that there were 10 Chassidim that got together every week to discuss and to figure out what to do. The Rebbe says, take a minyan of Jews. Why do you need a minyan? The Rebbe at the end of the Sikha says, 1, 2, 3 Jews should think and sit down together and try to figure out. So what is the idea of taking 10 Eden, the Tavke million of Jews should be able to do it? Bepashtos, again, that's the way I read the Sikha, but I'm sure everybody else has their own explanation, is that the Rebbe wants that this should be a united effort. A minyan, the Rebbe explained many times, remember the Sikha when the Rebbe explained it on the dollar, it says, et pluribus unum. Besides in God we trust, the words on the dollars in Latin, et pluribus unum, that from a rabbim you make a yochid. How many Sikhs Rebbe spoke about this idea that a minyan is not just 10 people. It's a metzius, it's one thing. Now it's very easy to take a minyan of your friends, people that think along like you, and everybody agrees with everybody. So then you're going to sit down and have the same discussion and weiter gegangen. You had a good Farbrengen, Geschmack Farbrengen. But we see today that Baruch Hashem and Lubavitch, they're in the same Shavuos, they're different people with different opinions. Surely the Rebbe is not disregarding any Chassid. The Rebbe wants them all together, and we should all together be able to do this. So if anything, Baruch Hashem, happened from the year of Zoom, the Baruch Hashem today, America 302 put together this Farbrengen, and Baruch Hashem, there are different speakers. I think that the nekuda of this Farbrengen has to be to show that we can come together with different days, different opinions, and sit down and figure out what we have to do. Sadly, the way Zoom works right now is that one person speaks and everybody else listens. It's not really the Farbrengen the way it should be. I think the Farbrengen should be, all the microphones should be open. It's going to be a little difficult. But if we want to talk and bring this minyan of YIDDEN together, should be people that I normally don't speak to because I don't agree with him. And not everything that he says, it's exactly the way I feel. And he understands the Rebbe Sikha is different than I do. But Bepeil, the Rebbe wants all the Chassidim to be together with this. So there's no question that we have to sit down at the real Farbrengen, sit down and figure out how are we going to make this happen. So first of all, L'chaim, that we should be able to figure out how to come together as Chassidim of the Rebbe. There's no question that besides the nachas that the Rebbe will have, when you see that all the Chassidim are together, besides the Meredike Kiddush Hashem, Kiddush Hashem Lubavitch, when they'll see that everybody says today in many different Chatzeiros, whatever they're called, there's machlekes. But they're going to see that in Lubavitch, first of all, the machlekes is because we want to know what the Rebbe says. Talmidei Rebbe Kiva also were arguing about what Rebbe Kiva said. That's what we want to try to figure out. But we're going to do it be'achdus. Not only v'zvav b'sufa, the whole process will be a process of achdus Chassidim, and show that we can do it. And it should be a real Farbrengen, and from this Farbrengen there should be takach lotes the way the Rebbe wants us to do it. I've been saying this story over and over because I believe it's a very, very strong story. But first of all, L'chaim, I don't normally start the day with L'chaim at 8 o'clock in the morning, but it's Geschmack, I must say. I'm sure the rest of the day will be different. There was once, in the time of Tzemach Tzedek gave a roe that there's no drinking mashke on Pesach. Even kosher, of course, kosher and mashke, there's different ways to make mashke that should be kosher. So Chassidim used to drink it. And the Tzemach Tzedek said, that's it, it's over. No more mashke on Pesach. What is the reason? The reason is because since when you're taking medicine, you cannot drink mashke. I know many Chassidim don't follow this doctor's heroin, but when you're taking your medicine, you shouldn't be drinking mashke. So Pesach is the time of Mechlodas Svasa. The matzah is also a medicine for us. So when you're taking the medicine, you don't take mashke. So he said, no mashke on Pesach. Imagine the Chassidim sitting by Farbrengen, trying to Farbrengen, there's no mashke. It's geht nicht. Trying again and again and again, and just doesn't go. So at the end of the day, they decided, you know what, we have to find a solution. Let's go to the Rebbe Marash, who was then still in German, and ask him how we can get out of this problem. Maybe he has some mashke, maybe he has a heter, maybe. The kids, they went to the Rebbe Marash, and they asked him what to do. The Rebbe Marash said, listen, you can't drink mashke. The Rebbe said, no mashke, no mashke. But you know what, I'm going to tell you a story that hopefully this is going to be a little, a little support in you Farbrengen. After we can listen to Farbrengen with the Maise, and that's going to be instead of mashke. So the Rebbe's Marash told them that there was a young girl, not so young anymore, that was looking into shidduchim for many, many years, and she couldn't find the shidduch. She tried this, she tried that. It's nicht gegangen. One day, when she was really not so young, they came over and they offered her a shidduch, but the guy wasn't a chassid. This young boy wasn't so young, probably also. He wasn't a chassid. So she told the parents, would rather Tzemach Tzedek telling me if I'm allowed to do it or not, there's nothing to talk about. I'm not going into the shidduch. Tzemach Tzedek tells me I can do it, I'm there. Not nisht. So they went to the Tzemach Tzedek, they asked him what to do, and Tzemach Tzedek said that if this young boy is going to take a achlot, undertake to sit by every Chassidish Farbrengen that's going to take place in the city, then she should go ahead. No, it's not such a hard achlota. They discussed it with the boy, he agreed. They met, and Baruch Hashem, they got married. They got married, everything was fine. They had a baby, and sadly, this baby passed away. They went to Tzemach Tzedek and they said, how could it be? Something is wrong over here. Like we understand that, listen, you gave the bracha for the shidduch, and look what happened. Tzemach Tzedek said to find out from this younger man if he's actually following his achlota. He took a decision to go to every Farbrengen. Is he doing it? They went over to him, they asked him, and he said, actually, in the beginning, that's what he did. But he realized it's a waste of time. How much time can you waste on a Farbrengen? It's bittul Torah. You sit when you sing, and you talk, and you say l'chaim and farbeisen, and again you sing, and again you talk. How many hours can you really sit Farbrengen? Imagine if you're going to sit down at this time and sit and learn. So I decided instead of the Farbrengen, the time that I would spend with Farbrengen, I sit in front of a sefer and I learn. The result, what did Rebbe want? The result is maybe for me even better. I sit there and I feel that I'm wasting time. So Tzemach said to tell this younger man that the reason that he asked him for the sachlota to sit by Farbrengen wasn't because he needed him to become a chassid. The reason is because when you sit by Farbrengen and you say l'chaim v'livrocha, the last aces of l'chaim v'livrocha is mem and hey, which is shem and ma. If you look, when you say l'chaim tevim l'sholem, the Rebbe says it's also gematria, mem hey. L'chaim, the lamed, the tes, and the vav is also mem hey. So the nikud of a Farbrengen is to get the brachas from the shem yud kei vav kei, shem ma, and that's what I had to do. You should Farbrengen, not because I needed him to become a chassid. I wanted him to get the brachas. Sadly, he didn't do it, so that's the titzah. Can move on. Life changed. When I said this story, one of the people that was sitting by Farbrengen said, you know what? Shem ma is the idea of bitul. V'nachnu ma. So this is actually probably the nikud of a Farbrengen. We sit down by Farbrengen, we could do the same thing. Mendikon said that we sat on the phone, 10 people discussing. No question that it's an amazing idea and it should be continued. But sitting by Farbrengen, 10 people, it's already different. People that have different opinions, they sit down after l'chaim, they talk differently. The Farbrengen itself brings them together. So l'chiyera, again, I'm sure there are millions of ideas that will come up. But the nekuda is, first of all, to sit down by Farbrengen, do then a bissel bitul. If the Eibusha says, Eina ni v'hu yechelim, when there's not bitul, when there's no ma, so there's no question that we cannot bring the geula, the gila lekus, cause man that we are mitzius. The whole point is that there should be galus of elikus. In order there should be revelation of godliness, that we have to give place for the Eibusha. If we are mitzius, that it's me and I'm not ready to listen to anybody else, that's surely not the way to bring elikus down. But first of all, when we are ready to hear somebody else, we're ready to listen, we're ready to be mashpiim on somebody else. It's not me, it's the nekuda. No question that if a Farbrengen that is going to sit down 10 YIDDEN, and the 10 could become 100, and 100 could become 1,000, and Taka discuss and figure out what do we have to do. I don't believe, again, that the nekuda is to argue out and fight and realize who's right and who's wrong. That's not the nekuda. The nekuda is we have to come up with one solution that everybody's going to agree on. And with this, we're going to go out to the world and say, this is who we are, and this is what the Rebbe told us to do. And if the Rebbe says that we can do it, we can figure out the solution. We tried 30 years. First of all, there was never a moment that Shleishim Bekeach. Punkt this year was Shabbos Shmini, and you learn the Sichas of Shmini, and you see that this is the Nekuda. And when the Rebbe spoke, the Sichas Rebbe spoke about Shmini. So the Ashgacha Pratis that we've seen this year, it's incredible. Plus we have Zoom, plus we have the technology to reach out to the world. And plus we can bring together Chassidim from all over the world and discuss this. And there's no question that the Rebbe wants every year to be part of this. It's not only a road to Chassidim. When the Rebbe spoke, any mitzvah was about reaching the world. So mitzvah Mashiach is nothing less. Mitzvah tefillin is not about putting on tefillin. Mitzvah mezuzah is not about putting up a mezuzah in your home. Mitzvah mezuzah is to make sure that every single home has a mezuzah. So mitzvah Mashiach is about every single Eid has understanding and he's ready to bring Mashiach. We have to reach every single Eid with this idea. How do you do mitzvah Mashiach? It's a good question. But the same way that Chassidim in the beginning when the Rebbe spoke about mitzvah tefillin, they couldn't figure out what the Rebbe wanted. I remember Yeshua Mendel Gareli Kalav Shalom told me that when it all started, Chassidim said, Rebbe, please, tell us to get dressed like clowns. Tell us to take our kapotas and turn it upside down. Tell us that we have to do kulas in the middle of Manhattan. We're ready to do anything you need. Anything you want us to do, we're going to do. But this is already too much. Going over to a Yid you never met and asking to put on tefillin, and you don't even know if he's Jewish or not, this is already too much. This, like, give us a break, as they say. Yeah? Like, enough. Like, we understand that the Rebbe wants to take over the world, but there are things that we cannot do. And the Rebbe says that this is exactly what you have to do. You have to go and reach every single do. Mitzvah Mashiach is letting every single Yid know that this has to happen. I said to Rebbe the Farbrengen that we all know that Chassidus explains that Mashiach has to be davke dira b'tachtenim. What is tachtenim? That the chutza she'ein chutza, the farthest place in the world, the farthest Eid, that's the Eid that we have to reach. It's not about, maybe the farthest Eid is myself, but it's not about touching another Yid that is a Talmid Chacham and a Tzaddik v'chulu v'chulu. It's about reaching the Yid that you believe he's so far that there's nothing that's going to help. The Yid that tells you, no, I'm not ready to listen. When you go over to somebody, ask him to put in tefillin, and he says, no, I'm not ready, you know that this is your shlichus. When there's a Yid that doesn't believe in Mashiach and doesn't want to listen to Mashiach, and his days are so different than yours, you say, I cannot sit with him. So maybe this is the Yid that actually you have to sit with. Because the whole point is actually reaching, in your eyes, whatever is the tachtan she'ein tachtan imenu. So the idea of mitzvah Mashiach is actually reaching every single Yid. And the furthest you're going to go, the lower ke'ilu you're going to go, that is actually the Yid that you have to reach. And if we want to bring Mashiach, the only way is actually by understanding that there's no Yid that we can say, this Yid is not part of the game. This Yid is not going to be part of the effort to bring Mashiach. So the 10 Yidden is lav davke 10 Chassidim that I love and I care for, and they're the biggest and shturim. And maybe the 10 Yidden is taking a simple Jew. The same way when we go a mivtzoim, we don't think it's just Jew exactly the way I like him. And does he agree with me, everything? And am I going to offer him to put on tefillin? We reach out to every single Eid. And the farther the Eid is, the more geshmak we have. If it's a karkafta, if you never put on tefillin, then, this is mamish. We can feel good. Today we put on a karkafta. Imagine a karkafta that never thought about Mashiach, never did anything that was imbued with Mashiach. This is the Eid that we have to reach. The Rebbe didn't say, take 10 Chassidim, mashpiim in Chabad, sit down and figure it out. The Rebbe said, take 10 Yidden. But between the 10 Yidden, there'll be one person, 2 people, 3 people. I think they're between the 10, or maybe they're the other 3 that are going to come up with the 8s of what to do. One of the things that the Rebbe told us clearly, I remember that Farbrengen, that we tried everything to bring Mashiach. There was one thing that wasn't tried. And the Rebbe said, is simcha b'tarasa. To go with incredible simcha, not because of a certain reason, not because something happened, not because we learned a maimer. Simcha b'tarasa, it's reina simcha. People have to see that we are living with Mashiach. We are so sure that Mashiach is coming. When I hear that it's a terrible day, Chof Ches Nisan, this cannot be today a terrible day. Today, our Metzius is Simcha B'Tarasa. That's what we are. Today, the whole Metzius of a Chosed is Simcha. We have to understand that the idea that we know that we are going to be the ones. Can you imagine 3,000 years, Eden are trying, and nobody had the schus to what we got from the Rebbe. The Rebbe told us that you are the ones that are going to do it. So you can imagine the millions of neshamas that are looking at us and telling us, you can do it. I once spoke to kids and I told them there's a game that you play in camp, you take a stick, you run, you come back, you pass the stick, at least in my days. Today probably kids play different games. I don't know what it's called in English. You pass the baton or whatever, I don't know exactly. Then the code is you take a stick, you run, you come back, you pass the stick to the next guy, you run, you come back. And let's say you have 100 kids on this team and 100 kids on the other team. And then it comes to the last person running. His team is not only cheering him, they're Pasha jumping and they're telling him every little second of you, that's it's going to make the difference. We all ran, but now this is the moment. If you're going to manage, we're going to win. So really, you have neshames of Chassidim, tzaddikim, and our whatever, like grandparents, they're all standing there and cheering us, and they're telling us, listen, why could you have more? What the Rebbe told you, no one ever heard these words. It's amazing that in history, there was never such words stated. Why? Because it wasn't the matzah. When it comes to the last day, they're the equals of the Mashiach. And now it's up to us. You can imagine the schools that we have to do it. And every second here is important. And it's a chaval, as they say, to push it off, chas v'sholem. So what is needed from us is no question to come together, to figure out how to make this a mivtza Mashiach, that every single Eid should know it. Learning the idea of Gula Mashiach, for sure, this is something that has to be done with every single do. Besimcha, Rebbe said, when you go mivtzoim, you have to do it besimcha. So this simcha b'taras has to be infused with this idea of Mashiach. And no question that if it's going to be chadoshim mamish, if we're going to wake up today, even though they woke up already, you could still wake up and realize what the keich is that the Rebbe is giving us. And it's going to be a special moment. Now we can start. Shleishim Shana, it's been Shleishim Lekeach. We have an incredible power. It's Arena Ploes. When Rebbe spoke about Arena Nifloes, look, there's Gocha Protis. This year is Arena Ploes. Again, the whole idea. And we see the Nissim Bloom that is going on. And if the world needed a wake-up call to realize that nothing else is going to help besides Mashiach, I think the coronavirus did enough. People realize the biggest people, the biggest minds, everybody understands that we don't know what's going to happen. And there's no question that the message of Mashiach today is the most realistic answer, better than any vaccines, because they also, sadly, as we see, many places haven't helped. So what is the solution? The solution is Mashiach. So this message has to come so strong. We have the keiches, we have every mean is out there. It's incredible. In this likud was mentioned before. Rabbi Ginsburg, you mentioned the answer that Rebbe gave to Rabbi Zeklikovsky, alav shalom. And but in the same likud, they printed this letter that Chaim Baruch Halberstam wrote. I'm sure you all saw it. And he wrote in the beginning, there was the yahrzeit of the tzanzer, and the Rebbe says, Davke with a question mark. Davke in this day, that's the offer you're giving him. What did he say? His offer was to open up, to buy a radio station. I think it was Mem Gimel, Mem Hey, I don't remember exactly, in the Mems. Then the idea was to open up, to buy a radio station. It should be Mayfitz, Niglech, Chassidus, and the Rebbe says, it was Messiah, Rabbi Weinberg, V'chulu. Everybody could look up the letter. It's an amazing, amazing answer. And the Rebbe says that on the day of the yahrzeit of the tzanzer, that's what you're offering. Something that chas v'sholem could be, if you open a radio station, there could be in yonim of minatera, things that are not allowed according to the Torah. That's what's going to happen from opening a radio station. Today, Baruch Hashem, we don't need to open a radio station. We have, Baruch Hashem, enough ways and means to send the message out. And it could be done b'kedusha v'tara. You don't have to chas v'sholem fall into problems that are going to be not according to what the Rebbe said, and it can move and not against halacha. But look what the Rebbe brought us, the dafke in our days. We have all these things coming together to make it happen. So l'chaim, that somebody said that tut alt v'sirkent, the alt v'sirkent is alt, it's everybody. Kol, there should be achdus in all, by all YIDDEN, by all Chassidim, by all shluchim. And this achdus, no question, as we know, the Maise, that does what Farbrengen in the Geula. So l'chaim, if the Rebbe said at the end of the Sikha that 1, 2, 3 people van sich actionen, so why did the Rebbe have to say about a minyan before? It doesn't make sense. One person can do it. Why do you need 10 people? Why do you need a minyan? 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. It's b'chlal b'sayim money. If you have 1 person that could do it, you don't need a minyan. The Rebbe is telling us, come together and figure out everybody together. The minyan is not after minyan. Berei V'Amadas Melech should be, every single Yid should be involved in this effort. We can do it, and it's going to happen. And what's missing is Mamesh, not only the Pachim Ktanim, that's past that big time, L'chaim, L'chaim.